Hi, everybody. I am Rebecca Nadelka, your realtor mom, eXp Realty, back with the podcast today. A lot of people might talk about starting a business when they're young, act like it's all freedom. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to make all this money. But that's not always necessarily the case. Today, I have Gabe Budzowski, who is friends with my daughter, Jade, 19 years old. And instead of just talking about business, he's running a business, Apex Epoxy Flooring Solutions. And what we're going to get into today isn't just about the hype, it's about the reality. And I'd like to first welcome Gabe and thank you for being a guest today. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you're from? And
yeah, thanks. Thank you for having me on, of course. I grew up originally in Talmadge, moved up here my freshman or 8th grade year of school, got my feet in the ground, kept living here. My parents ended up splitting and I stayed in Aurora, which it was probably the best decision of my life, for sure, because I don't know where I would be at if I didn't walk the path that I walk today. Every decision I've made and everything that has led up to this point has put me exactly where I need to be.
Right. A lot of things start a lot younger than we think. So kind of jumping into it, Gabe, obviously, like I said, is 19, starting young. Most people that are 19 are kind of still figuring things out, not sure what they want to do. What made you decide to take the path that you did instead of just getting a job, starting your own business?
Yeah, that's a pretty good story, actually, because we ended up, I worked a lot of jobs. I've been working regular jobs since I was 13. So I got to learn early on what it really, even those simple jobs, yep, what kind of grit it takes to, show up to work when you're supposed to be and be on time. I like to be a little early, of course. But it ended up going from, small things that we saw online. That's a really big fallacy that people create. Start your own business, make money, that kind of deal.
Make $500 a day right away.
But no one ever explains what it takes, because I can tell you that even detailing cars, yes, we made some money. Over that season, that summer that we were detailing, met some cool people, but it was not going to be enough to where you could be comfortable even doing it full time while still scaling it.
Right.
Your profit margins on certain jobs and stuff, it's just not enough to keep going unless you have hundreds of those coming in a month.
Right.
And the biggest part of that made me realize really what it takes at that point to run your own thing. And then for about a year there, we went back to just working regular jobs, doing just regular stuff. I was working at a car wash again, which I never thought I would be doing. And then after about that year, spring was coming around, and I saw, once again, fell into the trap of online. I saw a power washing company, and that inspired me. I've power washed in the past. I've done it professionally, and I was like, I can do this. So we ended up starting a power washing thing. It did fairly well. The year prior to that, I was doing some epoxy flooring with some other companies in the area, and the power washing did produce. That started back in March. I started getting equipment for all that, and then did fairly well. I did about 25 my first year, which isn't too bad for power washing.
And it's not bad to be, at that point, 18, just out of high school.
100%.
Not having gone to college and getting the degree. Like, you did this right out of high school. Because what it sounds like to me is you've always been that business-minded. You knew you wanted to run your own business. So was there a point that it clicked, or was it always something that you were like, I want to run my own business?
I feel like that clicked back in high school. Not only was I more attracted to working with my hands and whatnot, I was part of the welding program and everything like that, but I had realized the path that everyone else was walking, and that wasn't my path.
Gotcha.
And it goes back to me taking simple classes in high school. Yes, I got good grades and all that. And I could have applied for scholarships. I could have taken the SAT. I opted out of taking the SAT. I didn't even take it whatsoever. And
I'm sure there were people that were negative about it and said it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
You should do this.
I've had a handful, actually more than a handful of people tell me to walk away from this. And that only made me want to do it more at that point, because I knew in the lines that college was not for me, and that nowadays a degree could mean nothing.
You're right. It could. It gives you a big bill. It's right for some people.
100%. If you're going to be a brain surgeon, or if you're going to become a nurse, doctor, important fields like nuclear engineering in itself. But for me, that's not what I wanted to do.
And I also feel like I went to college, and I learned a lot of things throughout the years in college that benefit my business today, but there's also classes that you can take. There's a lot of opportunities for education that aren't college, and you do things related to what you want to do in life. So you're using your time a little bit better too.
I've always told myself I've never been to a better school than my own life, because the people that I've met and the route that I've taken, it's like going to school. It's not just work.
You've gotten to put up with people like Jade.
I've had to put up with a lot of people, some happy, some mad, and some even upset. But when it comes to that, it teaches you not only the emotional empathy and the certain emotional skills that you need to talk with a customer, but it also teaches you that this isn't all just only about making money.
Right.
It's really about fulfilling yourself.
And that's a huge part. And I think a lot of times kids that when they graduate think job.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. Versus fulfilling yourself, where it might be the harder road. It's not owning a business, building a business is not an easy path. There's 100%. A lot of struggles. There's a lot of times you feel like, oh, I'm not making the money that I want if I just went and got this job. But really, you can't put a price tag on your happiness and being happy and doing something that you love. Like owning your own business and being your own boss, that's worth a lot of money.
And in my mind, I'd rather be making $50,000 a year working for myself than $100,000 in an office. And the whole reasoning behind that is simply the people that have told me not to. And there's other personal reasons behind why I do what I do. But really, it's the people that have told me not to that make me want to do it more. It's
funny because you probably don't know this, but when I got into real estate, the job that I left, my boss looked at me and said, "You'll never make the money you made with me." And everybody that knows me knows that was all I needed to hear, because you know what? I will. And I did it in like 6 months. So go ahead, give me another challenge, because when you tell somebody they can't do it, that's often the fire that lights them to.
And really, it was a process. You know, like I said, I was coming on here completely honest. I was broke, dead broke, since I graduated. And
you weren't used to being dead broke as a kid.
No, I always had a job in high school, and you're not paying any bills back then.
And your parents were taking care of you, and you weren't struggling to have things you wanted.
So when I came to that realization, it's not that I accept that. It's that you have to do something to change that. And, you know, the power washing, it did very well, but then everything went dry right after I'd say the month of August. I stopped getting jobs in. So I took a reevaluation, and I was like, I need money at this point. So I got a job with Questmark, which was a commercial epoxy company down in Stowe. And they loved me there. And I worked for 4 days, and I made that impression. But on that 5th day of me working that week, I got a phone call, and that's the phone call that really changed my life. And it all was because of a seed that I planted 4 months ago with John Retton, who he introduced me to a client that really gave me a contract that made me look at it and say I'm never going back. I was making $60,000 to $70,000 a year with Questmark.
Wow. And you left that to go on your own.
Yeah. And really, it's hard to say no to that kind of money at this age.
Especially your age.
Mm-hmm. But I don't regret it whatsoever.
So then the money, obviously you walked away and went out on your own. When you were involved with working, whether it be on your own or at your previous job, when you work on your own, you're dealing with money, customers. What's one of the things that working with those customers and the money involved that surprised you the most? Like, I think a lot of people think there's an impression of being a business owner, you're just automatically raking in money.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nothing that really impressed me. I kind of knew what I was getting into just based off of my previous experiences. And really what was the turning point of not being shocked by anything is I talked with a couple of people. I think that's just the biggest thing, and it depends on who you talk to. Mm-hmm. His name is Anoop. He's down in Stowe. He ran I believe it was a marketing agency for a very long time, and now he just does small business advice and stuff like that. And our conversation, it was about 3 hours that day in Panera in Stowe. And we just talked. And after talking with him, it's almost like I felt no worries. You know, I know what I'm getting into. I know what I expect. And he really focused on, this is the one thing I did disagree with him on, was like a 5-year plan. Mm-hmm. A lot of businesses have a traditional 5-year plan. And I did. But once you start studying certain people in history, they do things a little differently. And like I mentioned in our conversation earlier before we got on here, people like Steve Jobs, people like Elon Musk. If you dissect how Steve Jobs went about his day-to-day, he had no 5-year plan. He had no 3-year plan. He didn't even have a week plan. His structure was based on every 18 hours. You know, you need time to sleep.
Right.
So let me create a list of all the things that I need to get done. Let me pick the top 3 or 5 ones that are most crucial and important to what I'm trying to achieve. If I can get those done in the next 18 hours, rinse and repeat.
So it's interesting that you say that, because in real estate, I didn't start with EXP. I started with Keller Williams, and Gary Keller was the CEO of Keller Williams, and he's written some books. And the first book, I think, within real estate that I read was called The One Thing. And the theory is when you're going to do something, you need to focus on one thing at a time.
Exactly.
And I am not. I'm working. I don't really have a 5-year plan. I work my year. I'm trying to get better about scheduling things, but really what you need to focus on is one thing at a time, and knowing your top 3, that's great, because then you know when you're done with one. But really, to be successful, you have to focus on one thing at a time. You know, in business, there's 8 million things that you've got to do. And if you try to focus on all the different pieces, parts at once, nothing gets done.
And one of the bigger things that Anoop and me discussed was that you're not just trying to meet an expectation from a customer, no matter if it's your smallest job or even your biggest one where things can slip through the cracks. You need to exceed what they are expecting. And
that's key to customer service.
Yes. And I feel like that's why when I talk with a customer, a lot of people like me for who I am. But the other thing is, I'm not going to do something that I'm not comfortable with or that I don't feel is done right. And especially with this flooring, it's a very simple process to get an epoxy floor down. But if you don't follow that process to exactly what you need to do, you can mess somebody's stuff up very easily.
Just the little bit that I know about epoxy and crafting, because I try to be a crafter all the time, it could be left sticky.
Oh yeah, if you don't,
that's
you
your
have
floor.
Everything from grinding the floor to how it's prepared and patched to how it's mixed to how it's even put down. We've had some issues in the past with temperatures even. Sometimes the outer walls of a room might be a little colder than the center of it. That can play a part. So there's very little things, and that's what you have to pay attention to, and I see a lot of guys not pay attention to it.
I think, and that's though the things that are going to make you continue to be successful. So is there anything that you've encountered so far that was harder than you expected? Is there part of the business, like obviously you go and you do the jobs, you quote the jobs, you do all the things. Is there something that is, you're like, wow, that is a little bit harder than I thought?
When it comes to quoting commercials, depending on where you are and what you're doing there can really drastically affect the pricing and the amount of time that you're spending. Because we don't quote, like on smaller areas, you quote by square footage, of course. But when you're talking about 100,000 feet of aisleways in a factory, you can't quote that by square footage.
Right.
So that's really where it can take a day to write a quote out for something like that. Just trying to figure out your cost of material, labor, time, all that
There's
stuff.
a lot to learn in running a business, for sure.
And I'm very grateful for who mentors me and helps me out with all that, because without him, it would be very difficult. I definitely would not be able to do what I'm doing.
Right. So obviously in business, there's, like we said, many parts. Is there part of the business that a lot of people think is so glamorous, but the reality is
Partnerships.
Partnerships are tough.
Yeah, I had to learn that lesson very early on.
And he says this very early on. I have to throw this out there, reminding everybody he's 19. So very early on, like he's been through a lot of experience.
We've been running, or I've been doing my own thing along with working regular jobs since I was a senior in high school. So when that push comes to shove with that kind of stuff, you do learn a lot more than you should at that age. Having certain friends and people in business, especially when you're in business 50-50 or something like that, it can cause issues. And I was told that. Of course, I was young and I did not want to listen. I'm still young and I don't listen to certain things.
It's a learning process for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not young and sometimes I don't want to listen.
Exactly.
So I get it.
But that was definitely one of the hardest lessons to learn, was being wary of who you involve.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely something to think about. And I know, being young, a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm going to do this with my friends. And that's, for some might work, but it's not always the best situation.
For some, it is very good, especially when you have two people that are very like-minded. When you have two people that are somewhat like-minded, but they're trying to make money, no. It doesn't work out very well.
Well, I think there's two different types of people. Like if you're money focused and money driven versus business minded and business focused, those are two totally different things. And I feel like even though you're 19, you've experienced that and you know that, which gives you a big advantage to a lot of.
And I'm even wearing the shirt today. I'll still wear the detailing stuff. I'll still wear the power washing stuff. And we still power wash. It's actually a very good side way of revenue. But the flooring is where I'm at now.
Right. So one of the things in being in business is, I think a huge part is your mindset. And there are times, we're all human, we don't feel super motivated. What is it that you do when you're not feeling motivated, and what makes you feel motivated to get things done?
Take it out of the picture. That's kind of how I approach it, is that it does not matter how I feel. It does not matter if you are sad, tired, or angry. You need to get up and you need to do what you have to get done today. There is no emotion in business. There is no emotion in this process. You can feel certain ways about it, yes. But is it relevant? No. Business doesn't stop for anybody.
Right. So how do you, if you're tired, how do you wake up? Like, what is your trick to waking up and just being consistent and getting to do what you need to do?
Really just sucking it up. I mean, it sucks. It is 100% the worst feeling when you wake up tired or your body's a little beat up from the day before, but it's really that drive that, I'm getting up to do something that I want to do so that when I come home, I'm going to be fulfilled and feel good.
And I think, again, that is being a young business owner. You already have the mindset and the thought process to be successful. So I can't wait to see where you are in 5 years, in 10 years, because all the things that you say are things that take a lot of people a long time to figure
realize,
out and realize.
And I always try and ask myself, if you're trying to be like someone, not be them, but be like someone. So we're talking higher up people in life. Not only do you need to surround yourself with those kind of people, but you need to try and do what they do. Waking up early, making your bed, that kind of deal. Those simple little acts can have a great impact on the rest of your day and a great impact on what you're going to be doing that day. If you wake up good and you're feeling ready and you're juiced and ready to go, 100% you're going to knock out some work that day.
So I'm going to give my mom advice. I told Jade this at the same time. I don't know if you read book, sit and read, but one of the best books, especially for a young business owner, that I would buy it for you is called The Miracle Morning. And I legitimately read it every year, every January, because I fall off by the end of the year. I'm tired. We're in Ohio. The weather's gray. It's hard to so I do. January, I go to Arizona. The sun is shining. I sit, I read, and The Miracle Morning is the first book I read every year. So I'm going to challenge you to read that book because it does help you when you're tired in the morning. The Miracle Morning starts at 6 a.m. And I'm not at the point right now where I'm getting up at 6 a.m. But come January, February, I will be back in that mindset of this is how my days go. So
I know a lot of people as well, and it's been spread across social media, of course. But the dream is to figure out how you can comfortably let your body go off of as minimal amount of sleep as possible and work as long as possible. So if you're waking up at 4:30 in the morning, hitting the gym and then going to work, you're going to bed by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. And I know that's a thing with a lot of people my age, I've realized, is that they are night owls. They'll stay up all night and sleep till 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know about you, but any successful person I've ever met is not sleeping in that late.
No, you don't. I've never been a super late sleeper.
Sometimes it's warranted.
Right. But I'd say even on the weekends where, for me, real estate runs 7 days a week, but I don't have to get up as early on the weekends. And I find myself, I'm usually up by 7:30, 8 o'clock, even on the weekends.
Anyways.
Because you're right. And I am one that sleeps less. I do stay up later too. I don't go to bed at 8 o'clock. I'm still at the moment of making fun of people who go to bed at 8 o'clock because what? But I require less sleep. I would rather go to bed early and get up early versus stay up late. And I used to be, before I owned a business, I used to be the night owl and I would sleep in because.
And I always look at it. You can be like that. There's no problem with staying up late at night, but what are you doing with your time? Are you sitting in bed scrolling on TikTok or are you behind a computer screen working on your project?
Right.
Or are you even in the gym at 1 a.m? Some people are like that. And it's really just a simple fact of how can I make my body the most efficient to do what I need to do day to day?
Right. Yeah. And that is definitely, again, you're learning this at a younger age. I almost wish that I would have, I went to college and my opinion is when you go to college, you often pick the later classes so you can sleep in and then you party all night long and then you sleep in and then your classes start at 12, 1 o'clock. So you don't even set yourself up for what life's going to be like after college. Now you've gotten yourself into, you go from high school where you're disciplined and up early. You probably stay up later than you would normally because of work and schoolwork and whatever. And then you go to college and everything shifts to such a later, but really what should be happening is we should be preparing ourselves when we are working. And for those of you that start the business, and you are so far ahead just with your mindset alone and what you've accomplished at a young age.
It's really, I think, a fact of staying calm, because it's inevitable that you are going to have problems, that you are going to fail, that stuff is going to break. But every time that you win instead of fail feels 100 times better. And a lot of people will fail and stop right there.
Right. And a lot of people also don't realize failure is part of success.
It teaches
because
you things.
If you never fail, failure just creates character. It helps you change things to be better and better.
And I mean, we not too long ago just put another floor into Barrington, and the customer had chosen the color. He chose everything that he wanted and was unhappy once the floor was finished. And that was a problem, of course. But there's ways to work around it. And, we got it fixed, got it exactly the color that he wanted. And now you might not make as much money as you would have on that job, but now he wants us to come back in the springtime and do a lot more.
Right. And he'll be more apt to pass you referrals. And when he knows somebody, because the best way to build your business is through word of mouth and referrals and getting people to kind of buy in to your service.
Yeah.
And the level of service that you provide to people goes such a long way.
100%. I mean, I've seen epoxy floors, especially around this area. That's a lot of work that we do, is chasing down people's shoddy work.
Right.
Like I said, I won't touch a floor if I can't do it right. And there are some floors that you will pass up, just because of the condition of them, where they're at. I mean, if there's a lot of water or something like that. But at the same time, there's ways to work around stuff like that. Let it dry out. Call me in a month or so.
Right.
A lot of people just see that and will give up. But that's not. I always try and help as many people as I can, especially if they come to me asking me to help them.
So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the money side of things. Most people think they're going to jump into business and they're going to own their business, and now all of a sudden they're going to be rich. And obviously our end goal is to be running, and not have to worry about our future and whatever. But how is it that and you don't have to share numbers, but your relationship and how you felt about money, did that change from when you were just working a job to owning a business?
100%.
And what are your thoughts on that?
I've never touched as much money as I have in my life. But at the same time, I've never spent as much money in my life. And that goes down to the simple basic principle that you have to spend it to make it. And you do. In this business, you do.
You do. In any business, to be successful, I think you have to spend money to make money.
And especially, I mean, I have $20,000 in equipment as we speak, but I need more. The bigger you go, the more stuff you need to complete it. And a new grinder now can run you $20,000, no problem. So it's not really like I was surprised by that fact, but it definitely was a new feeling. Right. Especially when you get a really, really big check and then you got to spend half of it.
Right. Oh, I get it. Because real estate, our checks come, they're big, and then they don't come. As a business owner, you're only making money when jobs finish or when I close on a property. Exactly. And so if you're not continually building your business, it can dry up, and there's no
there's nothing to fall back on.
There's nobody there writing me a check if I didn't sell a house. So you definitely have to learn to spend, budget, reinvest. And reinvesting is huge
very crucial.
Yeah, because I do that as well in real estate. At the end of the year, okay, how am I going to change what I provide to my customers this year? I've made more money. I'm going to step up the level and reinvest back into my business. So is there anything like about reinvesting that you've learned in your,
Well, that's the reason why I didn't have any money. I mean, when we were working on the power washing and the detailing company, and even now with the epoxy, you spend a lot of money, not only on equipment, but we're talking advertising, flyers, just a way to get your name out there. And that's why I do like free ways of getting around and talking to people.
Right.
But at a certain point, you have to spend that money. Otherwise, you are going to fall behind the people that are around this area. I mean, it's not a super highly competitive business, but at the same time, you can study the other businesses around here and see why they are where they at, and then take that and change it. You don't want to be like them.
Right.
You need to change their process so that not only does it give you room for expansion, but it's also bringing in money at the same time.
Right. For sure. For sure. So is there anything with regards to like your investing and your spending, a mistake that you may have made along the way that taught you how to do it better the next time?
Yeah.
I see that with a little laugh.
Facebook and Google ads definitely are something to be careful with.
You have to know how they work.
Yes. And that's why I understand how they work, but I don't know how to make them produce. So when you get to that point, you need to bring in somebody that knows how to make them produce.
For sure.
I wasted probably $1,500 to $2,000 on ads for the power washing that did nothing.
I can totally feel that because the amount of money that I've wasted on ads, and people look at me because I've hired a marketing company that helps, and they're like, you spend a lot of money on marketing. I'm like, but I was spending a lot of money before, maybe not the dollar amount, but I was literally getting zero back from it. So spending wisely and investing in somebody else, acknowledging what you don't know and hiring it to make it'll be better in the end.
The biggest mistake I see people around here thinking it's a one-man show.
It's not.
It can't be. Because then that's where you get into the realm of a never-ending cycle. You're never going to grow. You're never going to get more work than you're doing right now.
Believe it or not, I was stuck in that. Even, and everybody, like I'm successful in real estate. And it really took me until about a year ago where I'm like, oh, so I was like, I can do that myself. I'm not paying for that. But you want to use your time, because time is super valuable, on things that you're an expert at, and let other people do the things that they're an expert. Even though I'm paying for it, it's buying back all my time.
And I was lucky enough for that guy to be my buddy. So, you know, it works out. He's very good at tech, runs a lot of my social medias, runs a lot of all that stuff. And he does a damn good job at it.
That's awesome. That's great. So when you're stuck, because you are young and you're a business owner, when you get stuck, who do you go to? Like, who is your go-to for, you know, feedback or how you can change things?
Usually first call will be to my grandpa.
Okay.
For sure. He's a guy I can lean back on as a good foundation. He owned his own insurance agency for God knows how long. And he's still selling insurance till this day. He came out of retirement because he got tired.
Bored.
Yeah, he got bored.
Because he's a businessman and is like, I feel like business people don't ever stop.
He could probably sell you grass clippings off your lawn and you'd buy it. So
that's awesome. That's a great person to have as a resource then.
And it's not even that I'll call him when I need to make a decision, but he also brings me places that I'm able to introduce myself to certain people.
That's awesome. Because networking is definitely a big part.
It's the biggest one.
Especially for a young...
He brought me to some random meeting where I was wearing work clothes and everybody was in a suit and tie, and I just started talking to people, and now I got my foot in the door for a contract that I ballparked at almost $3 million.
That's amazing.
If they wanted to go through with it. So, that's a free conversation. It's just all about getting in front of the person in real life. I've learned that if you text people, if you call people, they are not going to be as responsive if you are standing right in front of them.
Right.
And that's why I will never do a quote. A lot of power washers, this is a lesson I learned back then, is that a lot of power washers will do quotes off of Google Earth based off of square footage. So you can I've sent out probably 50 to 100 of those quotes, and probably 10 of them went through with it.
That's a lot of work for not a lot of return.
Every single person that I've almost gotten in front of with the power washing has wanted it. And that even proved itself door to door. I mean, we were pretty low on money, and we started just knocking doors, and we got some income from it. You got to get in front of people.
You do. And so I'm bad at that in real estate because like door knocking is a thing. And I'm like, I am not knocking on doors.
It's horrifying.
It's awful. But sometimes that's just where you get the business as a business person. If that's what you need to do, the fact that you're willing to do it says a lot about you and your determination to be successful.
I hated every second of it. I hated every second of it. But we did get some jobs through it. And that's the most important thing, is that you're not wasting your time when it's like that. Were they always the best jobs or the most money? No, but it's what needed to be done in that moment.
And you maybe got referrals from those people then too.
And I did. We did one woman over in Streetsboro, and her neighbor called me about 2 weeks later based off of our yard sign. So, and that was a $700 power washing job. That's decently sized power washing job. And it's stuff like that you would never expect to happen that happens.
Right.
The whole entire phone call that changed my life was based off of a favor that I did for John Retton, because about 3 or 4 months prior to that, which thankfully his dad actually had hired us to come in and power wash their property for his little sister's graduation party. And I had realized that John was putting in a patio install across the street. Now, when they do that, the driveways just get caked with mud. Mm-hmm. Without even talking to John, without saying a word, I just went over there and I rinsed it down. That act right there was enough for him to believe I was a good dude, I'm a quality dude, and that's what he went on to refer me to somebody that really changed my life.
That's really impressive. So obviously, being a young business owner, you can probably give other young people who are thinking about it. I mean, like this for you started really your senior year of high school. So what is a valuable piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's young looking to get into their own business?
Patience. It's really all about being patient and keeping yourself under control. I've seen people that get money and they go immediately spend it. Sometimes that's warranted, sometimes it's not. You just have to be very careful with your actions and plan them out like it is a video game, pretty much. I mean, you gotta execute each action as if it was your last day living here on earth.
So like I have some other questions I'm going to ask, but you summed it up with just that answer, because you don't want to rush it. You got to have the patience. And
we've run into situations where we've tried to rush things and it just turns out horribly.
Right. I almost feel like as long as, obviously I'm clearly old enough to be your mother because you're Jade's age, but I feel like I even learned stuff just listening to you talk. And, I think one of the things as you get older in business, when you're young, I feel like you're more receptive to change things up, to make the adjustments that you need. And that's a huge advantage. And getting into business can be super scary, but it all comes back to how you handle things. And
you have to be very good at calculating risk, because there has been times where I've taken the risk and it does not reward.
Right. But you're also young, and I'm assuming you still live at home.
Yeah.
So that's a big advantage too.
My bills are very, very low. I'm able to do what I need to do. I've never seen a point in renting an apartment at our age.
Right, because rent is paying someone else's mortgage.
Exactly. That is not my ambition. Other people, 100%, it will suit you just fine. And I know in the long run, it's not for the reason everybody thinks it is. It's because not only am I saving money, but it is a part of the business. The epoxy isn't going to be forever. That isn't my lifelong plan to pour floors my whole life.
Right.
It's more about security, real estate, investments, all that stuff. So that one day I'm going to do exactly what my mentor is going to be doing to me, selling it off to somebody.
Right.
And yeah, you'll make your money off of that. But I don't see myself ever getting out of the business, more or less selling it.
Right.
Like just selling the jobs.
Sure.
The labor is pretty difficult on your body
Well,
sometimes.
and you're young enough that I still think that it's makes sense to learn how to do the job. You're young, your body can handle it. But as you get older, then you know the job, and now selling it, like you said, you're going to grow even more.
And that's what I've learned from seeing certain smaller companies around us, is that these guys are getting older. They think they can do it. They're starting to slow down, and they really, really need to find somebody to pass it off onto. Otherwise, your legacy dies with you.
Right.
You're not going to have that business anymore. Some big company like Questmark or Centimark, they're going to come through and they're going to buy you up.
Right.
And that whole thing doesn't sit right with me, how they kind of have an epoxy monopoly in the business.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where a fire gets started right there, is that you want to show those big people that you are not a force to be messed with.
Right. And I think a big theme that I hear a lot in any industry, and a big focus, is on support small. And that's an advantage to business owners, that people want to support local.
Yeah.
They want to support small. So if you run a good business, as you do, and you are worried about the customer and doing right, like you said, versus the dollars will come.
And that is a very important one as well, because we just installed a floor in that salon over in Hudson. December 26th, we started that floor, and then it was finished 3 days later. So that lady, her salon flooded out, and she had been fighting with insurance for 3 months. I was fighting with them too, because there was companies that came in and tried to shark the contract. They had her sign things that she wasn't supposed to sign. It was a very, very messy situation. And when it came down to it, she went with us because she trusted us. She could trust that we were going to come in there and not screw her over on one.
Right.
I mean, there were people just trying to pump money out of that because it was an insurance claim.
Sure.
But no, you get a fair price and you get fair and honest work with us.
And that's huge.
Yes. And that is where you see a lot of businesses lack. It doesn't take me 3 weeks to respond to you. It doesn't take me 3 to 6 weeks to get my guys in there. The one company had told her that it was going to take up to 8 weeks to get people in there. So that's another 2 months after you are already down for 2 months. She was struggling.
Sure.
And we pulled her out of that.
That's impressive.
100%. I felt so bad for her.
Yeah.
But now that's also a problem with insurance and all that good stuff. But we were there for her to rely on, and we stuck to it. I told her 3 days, we're in and out. Once the product's delivered, we're good to go. And that's what we delivered.
Yeah. So probably one of the biggest takeaways is building the trust, building those relationships, and standing by what you do is what's going to make you successful. And I think it's super cool to see somebody else that is friends with Jade, that's young and has a successful business. I think you're doing great. And had you asked me a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, oh, not Gabe, no way. But I'm like, he really does. You do a good job.
A lot of people thought I was going to college.
I mean, super smart. I would have thought so too.
I had family members. It was all out of love, but they told me to go. I told them no. I told them I know what I'm doing. Even though it might not seem like it, it might seem delusional, but it's only delusional until it works. And that's a big thing I stand by, is that I'm going to do this my way and how I want to do it. Not a whole lot of people can convince me otherwise. Right.
And so what I will be able to convince you, I'm going to convince him in a few years. Once he's got everything and he's now making good money and, very successful, he's eventually going to invest in real estate. Because he already said
you'll be my first pick.
And you know that you're going to build your wealth. You're setting yourself up. And I heard you say that investing is going to be a thing, and you'll sell your business and you'll be the sales side of it, whatever the case may be.
I look at almost everything as an investment, because if I had to start from ground zero today, sell off everything I own, I'd be able to replicate what I'm doing.
Right.
The equipment's worth money, the trailers are worth money, all that stuff. It's all an investment as well, as long as you take care of it.
What you can't replicate, though, is your attitude and determination
100%.
that you've put into it. And I see it, and I'm going to be honest. Knowing you throughout high school, I'm impressed. I mean, I am impressed. I mean, you're always the jokester and laughing and having a good time, but like your business sense is impressive.
And when it comes to me as an individual, when I'm not doing business versus when I'm working on what I'm working on, it's two different people.
Oh, for sure.
And and it's nice to have fun and all that stuff, but I feel like a lot of people are not willing to sacrifice that fun for a couple of years, and that's why they end up spending 40, 50 years working.
Right. You'll be able to be in a good place and retire at a young age if that's what you chose.
I'm not spending money on trips, on unnecessary things that cost a lot of money.
You will one day because you'll be able to.
Yeah, 100%.
For sure.
I want to be able to take those trips and do exactly what I want. I want to be able to spend $10,000 on Christmas gifts for my family and not have to care about it.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest relying factors of why I do what I do, is because when my parents split, I didn't treat it as, oh no, poor me. I treated it as, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make sure my family never worries again.
That's awesome.
I wasn't born into a millionaire family. I have no trust fund. My parents are fairly well off, but we're not the richest people in town, and I'm grateful for all they've done. And this is what I always will tell everybody. I'm grateful for what they've done and how they have raised me and who I am today, but not a single one of them is a millionaire. No one in my family. So you cannot tell me how to do my business.
Right. And I can say that your parents did a great job because you are definitely, I have no doubt that you will be successful. Like I can see it, and I will wrap this up. I do appreciate you coming and being here, because some kids would be like, oh my God, I'm going to talk to my friend's mom and whatever.
I don't care. It's an opportunity for me to share a story that maybe not a lot of people would know about.
There's not a lot of super young, you don't see a lot of 19-year-old business owners. And so if you're young and you're in business, you've done a lot right. And there's hard times and hard lessons that you'll learn along the way, but in the end you're figuring it out. And I think the coolest thing is your attitude towards it all. And obviously I want to thank you for being here. And again, Gabe is with Epoxy, I'm going to say it wrong, Apex Epoxy Flooring Solutions, 19 years old and running his own business. So thank you for being here.
I
definitely appreciate it. And as always, I am Rebecca Nedelka, your realtor mom, here to help you keep any process simple, smooth, and sold.